Hello, and welcome to the WHSS discussion series on steps to gaining housing. My name is Dan Mills, and I'm the Housing Navigator. Today, we're going to discuss letters of explanation, why you may need one, and how to write one. There's a lot, so let's get into it. If you're applying for housing and even think that you might be denied or have already been denied, then pay attention. In one of our first videos on communicating with landlords, we talked about this. That video had a lot in it, and it was a little long, so today we want to focus on just the letter of explanation. We've already discussed the importance of getting a credit report and doing a CCAP search on yourself, and then looking at your rental history and even writing a rent portfolio. So if you haven't seen those videos, please go back and watch them. If you've done those things and you've identified possible barriers or reasons that you may be denied for housing, then you need to consider writing a letter of explanation. Now, you can refuse to do it and take your chances, or you can take the opportunity to write a letter to prospective landlords explaining anything that they may consider undesirable in a tenant and improve your chances of getting approved. Saving yourself money and wasted application fees and the embarrassment and frustration of getting denied for a place to live. A letter of explanation doesn't have to be your whole life story. It should be one page typed and address the specific barriers to getting approved. So do your homework, be honest with yourself on what that might be. If your credit is below 650, address that. If you've gotten arrested in the last 5 years, you'd better address that. And if you have a felony or have ever been arrested for a drug or violent crime, then you need to address that too. And if you've been evicted in the last 5 years or owe money to any previous landlord, then you absolutely must address that. That's a lot, I know. So let's talk about how to write a letter that addresses any or all of that. When you write a letter of explanation, be honest. If you lie about any of it, you lose. Because landlords will check references. They will do credit checks. They'll do background checks. And if you think they don't talk to one another, you're just fooling yourself, because they do. Here are a couple of suggestions to help you write your own letter. If you know your landlord's name, use it. And if you know and if it's a property management company and you don't know who makes those leasing decisions, then just use the management company name, like Dear Bob Smith or Dear Blank Management Company. I'm applying for your rental listing at 100 Park Street, and I've added this letter to give you additional information that could not be included and explains items on my application. Each letter is unique, so use your own words. Then focus on the barriers that you identify as potential reasons that you might be denied. In this example, from the UW RentSmart program, this letter addresses a landlord's potential concern regarding a low credit score. It explains an event that occurred and the resulting effect it had on the writer's credit, and the attempts to reassure the landlord by addressing rent as a top priority, and other steps like payment plans and arrangements made to address the outstanding debts. It even mentions later if financial hardship happens again in the future, and offers of references and even an offer to pay a higher security deposit. Now, not everyone can afford higher security deposits, so don't do this if you can't. In addition, think about what kind of references might work best here. Maybe an employer or someone else who could state how reliable you are in following through on your obligations and financial commitments. Remember what you learned from Cassandra's recent video on references. Don't use family members, and be sure to CCAP any personal references before you consider using them. If your reference has a lengthy or recent criminal history, or even worse, evictions and large judgments against them, this may put into question your social circle. I know that doesn't seem fair, but it's the reality, and we need to keep that in mind. Here's another example from the Tenant Resource Center website regarding a past eviction. It does pretty much the same thing as the last example. It offers an explanation of the events that led to the eviction. It several corrective steps to make sure that that situation, and in this case, the eviction, doesn't happen again. Then the letter talks about the things they like about the apartment and why it's important to them. Then offer references, additional information, and thank the landlord for their time and consideration as a potential tenant. These are just two examples of how to write a letter of explanation to include with your rental applications. There are several other great examples on the UW RentSmart website and the Tenant Resource Center website. The links to these are in the description. I know writing a letter like this may be a bit uncomfortable. It's hard admitting past mistakes and feeling like you're being judged on something you're not proud of or maybe just embarrassed about. Look, bad things happen. We all make mistakes. A friend of mine once said, none of us are perfect. We're all a work in progress. So use your own words, be honest, accept your part in whatever happened, and admit what you've learned. And don't forget to take credit for all the changes you made to become a better person. Then write your own letter. Ask others to look it over and give feedback on it, and start submitting it with your applications. I like to type these up and save them as a Word document so I can change them for each landlord or apartment I'm applying to. Then I save it as a PDF so I can attach it easily to any online applications, email them directly to the leasing manager, or just print one off and attach it to any paper applications. It's that simple. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.